here.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Jack Tripper's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Corbot V5, maybe? Not sure. They're Allicons. I think it's called Mugger. And the reason why I say Jack Tripper is because this was sent to me by my dear friend, who I have the luxury of calling a pal, Robert D. And he bought... Robert D is an interesting fellow. He's quite funny. If you ever have the opportunity to run into him at a TFCon or Skullfest or something, I highly recommend you pick his brain for a minute, rather. But sometimes he's a very smart man. But that aside, sometimes I feel like he might have more money than sense. And the reason why in this particular scenario is he bought 3. And I'm not I mean, obviously I get the troop building aspect of it, but yeah, that was his choice. But anyway, let's not let it distract us. A simple Sunday, if you will, shout out to Akba, sort of review where we're just going to be going through the figure. We're not going to do any skit or anything like that. However, I will read you the text message that he sent to me in regards to them. He says, "I sent you all 3. They don't like being separate. They're bros. LOL, shipping fees for nothing. Well, on screen they should be as a group, in my humble opinion. Come on, you never just see one stinking Allicon, come on," and etc. And he sent me some other stuff. I'm not going to give too much of it away, but I am very grateful to have the opportunity to look at them. So without much further ado, let's talk about them. We'll get these out of the way. So open these up here to get the accessory in his hand, and then you can insert it back in once it's through the peg there, the port. And, you know, no paint or anything, but a nice color and kind of accurate for the character, I think. Not entirely sure, but it doesn't seem outside of the norm. And, you know, decent sculpt throughout, but nothing really too exciting to kind of report there. And then this fella, which we will just go ahead and go through now. So the head is on a ball peg. You get up to there. It's a Legends class figure, so we shouldn't expect much more. Down to there. Well, you can get it all the way down if you really want, but it's because the ball peg's on a hinge. The joints here are pretty tight, especially on the hinge inside the torso there where the ball peg is connected to. You can get the confused dog look. You can get the swivel. You got gray paint, it looks like anyway. Yes. And then this copper paint kind of for the eyes, which does look good. I'll get a little zoom into that unit because that is pretty nice. And then the purple paint for the upper lip. All works fairly well. No waist swivel. We have nice detailings that we'll talk about more in alligator mode. The shoulders are on like a butterfly joint, reverse butterfly joint back to there, and then a ball peg. So you get the shoulder, and then this swivels around a single spike, which is a pain in the balls. But you can probably manipulate it a bit more. I really don't want to break this thing, but you can probably get it out to 90 degrees, I would imagine, and then you can get the swivel out of it as well. There's a bicep swivel actually on a mushroom cap in there, so that's nice, and then a full hinged elbow, which gets you just 90 degrees, but that is pretty cool. Wrist swivel as well, and of course he holds his weapon. We'll talk about the paint and stuff in alligator mode because most of it is visible there. We do have some in here though, on the pelvis and hips. The legs are also on a ball peg, but because of the sculpt, you only really get out to there, forward all the way, back all the way. So the full Monty, not the full Van Damme. And then you can get a bit of a thigh swivel around the ball peg, which is fine. The knees operate the exact same way as the elbows and get you 90 degrees, so nothing poor there. And then the ankles, actually, you can drop these down a bit. And I'm guessing it's on a ball peg, which gets you a little bit of a rocker. And then an ankle tilt up just the slightest, back just the slightest, and the swivel. And then we have some silver paint underneath there, and we'll talk about that when we get there. And then the back of the figure cleans up fairly well, I think, for a Legends class figure. And I think this guy is intended to go, you know, so that you can troop build these guys with your your Sharkticon, the Legends class Hasbro Sharkticon, which I haven't taken a look at or anything, but I would imagine that was the intent. So I don't really have what you're supposed to compare him with, but I will put him with other Legends. I will say he's a bit back heavy, which I find a bit obnoxious. Like you really got to have him sort of lean forward on the ball peg on the ankles in order to get him to stand. And there he is next to Hasbro's Power Glide and Iron Factory's Blaster. So definitely more in line with the kind of standard. This thing is ball joints. Sort of Legends class. So we're gonna transform him. Now he didn't send me any instructions, and he's asked me not to break anything, which I will try to respect. But I haven't tried to transform it yet, so I'm gonna do it live. Trying to figure it out so we can kind of grade how intuitive it is as well. So I'm going to get these hands out of the way, and I'm going to see what's going on here. Let's bring the tail down. Looks like the head is on a hinge to collapse into there. So let's bring out there, I'm guessing. And these arms come around, and I've seen pictures, so I know that the reason why these things swivel is to get a look. Let's see, I think it's this. Yes, which is not too bad. And we're going to turn this to the outside. And then we're gonna stick the hands, I'm guessing, down in here. And that feels right-ish to me. There is, like, a lot of these joints are really tight, which does make the transformation a little bit more difficult. So we're gonna do that again. We're gonna bring this up, and I think this needs to come around to the side. And we wanna kind of form like a, I don't know, like a funnel of sorts. Just sort it out. Let's see. So we want this here. This probably moves. There it is. Okay. No worries. See, we got it. You know, it's funny. I've found in my experience that, like, you know, a lot of times I'll underestimate a Legends class figure. And it doesn't even have to be third party. It can be official as well. I'll underestimate the engineering that goes into them, and subsequently they will eat me alive, which is kind of happening here. So let's get the arms out of the way. Left and right with 2 screws. So let's assume that opens up. And it looks like those 2 tabs interlock in the middle of the pelvis. And these come down inside. Yep. All right. And then we'll just bend the feet. And then we'll kind of sort the hands. Right. And that should do it. All right. Nothing to it. The arm bit is a little bit tricky, but it's not a big deal. The mouth opens, I'm hoping. Yes, and it's very tight, and the teeth are very sharp. But the range on the jaw is insane. But that joint is so tight, the head wants to move with it. So that's a bummer. It's just obnoxious. And then you get a hinge here. Green paint to the gray, white paint to the gray, copper paint to the gray, a lighter coat of gray there, and the purple, the white horns, and the gray tips. So great Googa Mooga, they went to the 9s there. White tips painted on here for the back. Purple hands, they swivel here, ball peg for the elbow, and then you get a hinge. And a swivel on the ball peg. So that's nice also. That's fairly well articulated. And then the tail, nothing side to side. You get a little bit of down, so that's fine. The legs you can get out, but I think it's intended that they stay together. And the knees, you can get forward a little bit and back a little bit, and then you get the same foot articulation. We got green paint added out the waz. No, gray paint added. That's really sharp paint. Really clean. It was so clean that I thought the green was painted, but it's the gray that's painted, and it's really, really sharp. And then it looks like some sort of translucent down here, because it turns into a gun as well, I think, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But first I'm going to get a photo of this fella, so we'll be back in just a second. All right, so while I was taking pictures and stuff, I do notice that there are little hinges, at least in this piece and this gray piece, that do allow for a little subsequent movement in the tail. They were just really tight. I had to loosen them up. All right, so let's open up this jaw. I had to look at a picture online for this one. Back to there. Bring the handle down. I think the arms just stay there. I don't know. It doesn't ultimately matter. I got news for you. Pull these legs down. We'll pull this down. I think these turn to the inside, but maybe it's the outside. No, wait. No, because they got to go in. Yeah. And then it's like a gun, I guess. It's a 5mm port, so it'll work with corresponding 5mm. I mean, it's a 5mm peg, so it'll work with corresponding 5mm ports. Look at that red paint inside the mouth all painted. It's nice. Yeah. I mean, it's dumb, but I can see why they included it. A lot of this stuff that Hasbro's been doing recently is trying to do this. Like Power Glide was a gun for, you know, so he could be like another Combiner Wars, you know, gun. Maybe if they did the Seacons, it would be kind of a smart thing to do. I mean, so to speak. It's not really for me. Just like making Astro Train a Headmaster, like that sort of stuff just doesn't work for me. But if it works for you, then you can do this, which is a an alligator that has places to shoot lasers out of its feet with its tail hanging down. If that's for you, and that's fine if it is. Final thoughts wise, okay, so let's just go through it. The sculpt is pretty decent. I think it works pretty well. The paint is phenomenal for a Legends class figure, I think. And the materials are really good. The plastic feels really, really solid, so I definitely commend them for that. The articulation is not really the best, I guess. Like the shoulder pads kind of get in the way of stuff, and the legs don't move, and there's no waist swivel. But it is a Legends class figure, so there's got to be some give and take. So I ultimately get it. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't be enough for me, in my opinion. They have a good presence and stuff. Like they look good, and I will admit to Robert D, they do look good together. I think they clean up fairly well for being Legends class figures, and I think the alt mode works. I'm not gonna say the alt modes work. I mean, it works, but it doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? So I can recommend them if you want a Legends class Allicon. I think it's a very niche thing, but if it appeals to you, I did have someone request to take a look at these. I can tell you that they're well made. My complaints are that there's some limitations in articulation, and some of the joints are a little tight, and the shoulder pads are a little fiddly. And outside of that, I think it works fairly well across the board. So yeah, if you're okay with those things, then grab them if you want them. Robert D he can't wait to spend a buck. But there's nothing wrong with these outside of what I've mentioned, and I don't know how much they cost. I would say if these were around the $30 price point that like a lot of third-party Legends seem to be, I would say that they're worth it. If we get into like the $50 area, absolutely not, in my opinion. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.